Hello, welcome to everyone. I'm Jen Brooke Wasserman, and this is the Jen Brooke Education channel. And usually it has a lot of stuff that deals with photography, and I really wanted to hit on some of my other passions. And one of those is genealogy. I have been into genealogy for decades. We'll just say my father got me started on it when I was actually a child, because he used to do genealogy and spent years working on it. And I remember growing up that at one of the houses we lived in, he had printed it up and had an entire wall where he had a tree of names lined out, and he was trying to work to fill it all in. And so when I moved out, started doing some of my own and doing some of my research back when websites were first new, and was amazed at some of what I was able to find out of my family. And I will share some of that history later on and some of the interesting things I've found. But what I wanted to do today was to help those who are interested find a way to get started on their own genealogy, to learn more about their family tree. And so the first thing I would recommend to people to do is to do basically a brain dump. Write down all the stuff that you know first. Start with yourself, birth date, birth location. If you're married, put that information and dates, locations, basically any major milestone information. And then go back and do the same thing for your parents, your mother and your father, for whatever you have. And then keep working back as far as you can with the information that you have. The most important things are the dates and locations for the big milestones: births, deaths, marriages, anything like that. So once you have those written down, kind of try and categorize them, working on each family line. And then you need to set up an online account. That's the easiest way to be able to record and organize your information. So I recommend using more than one website. That's just kind of my personal preference, but it works really well for me. I use familysearch.org and ancestry.com. And I think it's really what works well for me, because I'm able to compare the information available on both. I actually use multiple websites though for different searches that all tie into everything. But those are the two websites where I really keep my family tree in its entirety, and I go back and forth to for my main accounts. So the reason I really want to say to use both websites is both of these websites are huge, and they're always updating constantly, but they update different things at different times. They add different information at different times. And so this is my family tree, and it's from each website, kind of what they look like from each one. But as you can see, there are different potential names. This one here is the ancestry.com one, and it'll show you when you have those potential names where that you could add in that information, and then you'd have to validate that is actually the person you are related to. And then when you click and add it, it might add more behind it. And Family Search does the same thing. If you tie into someone else where they've already done work, it'll recommend that that's your person, and you can tie into those lines. But for me, I've found that each website has different search features and different ways that you can organize that information. So some of the things I've noticed that they both have is the ability to put notes, images, and stories, which I think this is great. I actually was able to find my husband's great-great-grandfather's visa or passport photo uploaded from the early 1900s, and that was in there. We never had a picture of him before. And so I was able to find that on one of the sites and then add the images in with that person's name. They both have great search engines, and they're both constantly adding new information. I had the biggest breakthrough in one of my family lines. It was a name I'd been looking for probably about 20 some years. And when the 1950s census got added online a few years ago, I was able to get a breakthrough that brought me back generations that I'd never been able to get before. And it was all because that census led to a name that I didn't have and a location. And they're constantly both adding information. And so they have great ways to search documents. Ancestry.com does cost money, but they do offer DNA testing, which if you're interested in that, to look at your roots there. And they tend to have more records updated faster. They both have different ways to view your tree. You can do them horizontal, vertical, so if you have a preference. They both link to other people's trees if you want to accept those links. They're both always adding more documents, files, information. And the biggest benefit, Family Search, is absolutely free to use. So I recommend always start searching census records. I don't recommend using those as a primary source, because a lot of times, especially in the early 1900s, if people couldn't read and write, they would just tell someone and the person would write down a name. So you'd have names that were spelled wrong. Or if a family member wasn't even home and the neighbor answered the door in a building, they would say, oh, this person lives there and they've got so many kids and their kids' names are, but it might not have been accurate. But the census records are a great starting point. So the records that I would recommend that you use for sure, though, are birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, immigration records, naturalization records. Those ones for sure are going to be documented accurately. And then, of course, look at church records and family Bibles. That will give you more information. Double check. And this is, again, have a primary source, and also look at secondary sources. Sometimes the secondary sources are easier to find and they're going to have more information, but they might not always be accurate. So use the primary source to confirm what you find. So these are additional websites that I actually go to and have used because they have different information, and they're great for different searches. And so check them out. There's actually, I know more than what I have listed here, but these are the ones that I personally have gone to and used or looked at that had information that I thought might help when doing some of my searches. So for me, these are the three websites other than Ancestry.com and FamilySearch.org that I actually use a lot. I have a lot of family on my husband's side that trace back to New York City, and they've got a great way to search their historical vital records. They're constantly adding more, and I'm praying they will keep adding more, because there's a name I'm looking for in a year that those records have not been annotated yet. So I can look through every single birth certificate, but it doesn't tell you the name on it. You have to literally click and open thousands of records. So hopefully they'll keep working on those. They have people helping them with that. Scottish records. My husband's side and my side, we both have a lot of Scottish roots, and this website's great. I've actually been emailed some of the documents that were on my husband's side, some wedding licenses and birth certificates. It's pretty cool to see with the original handwriting. And then the U.S. National Archives. They've got a lot of great research available. So more help. If that doesn't get you started enough or you get stuck, Ancestry.com does offer a paid option to help. You can sign up for that, and you can hire a pro genealogist to help you do research. And FamilySearch.org will direct you to local in-person genealogists, if there are any in your area. I actually have one that goes to my church, and she's an incredible help and has helped me in some of the breakthroughs that I've had in researching family names and being able to prove when one thing is accurate or one thing's not, and how to find different records. Family Search will offer a free in-person help near you or a complimentary 20-minute online strategy consultation, which is wonderful. So lastly, have fun with it. You'll never know what you'll find and dig out the skeletons in the closet, but it's a great way to learn more about your family, where you've come from, and kind of in the process, learn a little bit more about yourself. So I hope that helps and you guys are willing to dig in. If you are, totally share with me what you found, if you find interesting photos, history, and I will continue to share more as I find more. Thanks.